we have it. New from AXIAL. The new AXIAL TRX4 Sport. Base Camp.
Getting back to basics.
Getting back to basics. Yeah. Portal axles again. Let's take a look at how similar is that to the TRX4.
Oh, go back and forth. That was I thought it was the same thing. Red pumpkin.
Right? Look at that. It's insane how close it is to being the same. Well, not same thing, obviously. Different brand.
Just some fender flares, right?
Yeah, but we'll get into that in a minute here. So we got 3 color options that they came out with. This blue and green and 10. I like the blue the most, but the video that I've seen of this, it is not popping.
It's more of a light sky blue.
It's kind of a light sky blue, and the video, like the outdoor video that I've seen of it, it's really kind of pastelish almost. Some of the videos I've seen.
Yeah, I like the green, I think, the best.
You like the green the best?
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I got a body that's almost that same shade of green. And I've never really liked it. That's like I don't know what you call that. Forest green? Not even really, because it's kind of a
forestry truck green.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Dumpster green.
Yeah, dumpster green.
It. That's the color right there. Dumpster green. That's it. Anyways, then we get into the tan.
So I'm just gonna say one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yes, this is true. So side shot. What is today? Thursday? Side shot Thursday. So I personally don't like the rear bumper at all. I don't like the rear bumper because I think that it's way too much. It's too substantial. There's too much there. It's going to hang up. The approach angle is horrible. Okay,
doesn't look too bad.
Your front angle is not so bad.
Front angle is amazing,
except that right here tire rub, and right here the tire rubs.
Just like the OG one, the OG SCX10.3.
Yeah.
Get the cutters out.
Back end wise. Yeah, pretty standard. Tow hooks on the back.
Is there a receiver hitch in the back too?
There is a receiver hitch in the back there.
Ooh, for all your.
Which there better be. When you consider the size of that rear bumper, there better be a hitch in there.
Yeah.
But it does have tow points. Of course, they're plastic as usual. Now, the front bumper. I understand the whole concept of going with licensed products or whatever, but if you're trying to make a budget model, I think you need to go away from putting things like Falcon and Black Rhino and who's that, Donald Con, whatever it was, the brand name of that bumper. I can't remember it off the top of my head, so you guys can piss and moan about that later. I think they should have just gone with the plastic bumpers that they already have, because now they're paying licensing fees to these companies, which made the cost of it go up. So to give you guys an example here, this is ringing in, and of course everybody's going to argue about price as usual. Right now, the MAP pricing, minimum advertised pricing on Horizon's own website, $389.99 US. Okay,
$389
compared to the Traxxas Sport, their MAP pricing of $369.95 US. So you are more expensive than the TRX4. You are not more expensive than the old Honcho, which is still available. So the Honcho can still be bought at $349.99. So we still have AXIAL still has a cheaper truck.
So is the Honcho, is that an SCX10 too?
It is.
Yes.
So this isn't a comparison video. It kind of is a comparison video, but it's more, I'm just pointing out the differences and the things that were done that should have been done. I think should have been done. You think should have been done. One of the things I think they should have done is I think they should have put a narrower front bumper on that didn't have all of this stuff out here on the sides. You notice, like on the TRX4 Sport, it stops right here.
Yeah.
There isn't a whole lot of body rub issue on these bodies. And then on this one, not only does it come out further, but it also goes back further into the fender.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for something that's, about style and what looks like, scale-wise, you're going to pay more money for it.
Yeah, but I mean,
right?
They could
scale bumpers. You're going to do a lot of stuff. So why do this on this base model?
Exactly. And if they were looking for like a scale detail kind of look, they could have done a fake front winch or something like somebody else.
Like the Sport.
Now, I'm not saying that the Honcho's bumper is the most beautiful bumper ever made. Far from it. But it's not a licensed bumper, and it's already something that's in their wheelhouse. They could have made it and used it. I think this should have been incorporated something a little bit more of a pre-runner style bumper onto this, because it's an entry level. Honestly, like, all these guys are complaining about the body and how ugly it is. How many people actually run the body that came on their truck? I don't. You don't.
I think the only one that would
run it till it's scratched, then you get rid of it.
I think the one that would be the new Traxxas one with the clip style that have the inside fender ones, because you just can't put that on something else, right?
Right. But even the Traxxas one, the TRX4 platform, you can still put regular body posts on that one and run a different body if you wanted to. But if you want to incorporate that clipless body mount system. Now, that's a good point you're bringing up there, because not only do they have body posts on this one now, which you can see here and here and here, and these body posts here that are bent way forward, they're never going to last. No way.
No, I thought they had a little spring to them or something.
Yeah, I think they're just going to. That's my. I think they're going to snap.
I think how they're relocated into a position.
Hey,
I like how they're relocated into a different position.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you wanted to use the clipless body look, like the no body post free look, they still have the same mounts in the frame, so you still have the same spots. So your other bodies will fit this chassis. They're the same wheelbase.
Oh, nice.
So just showing quickly here, this is up top, we've got the new base camp. Below, we have the original SCX10. And then over here, we have the Honcho, which is the SCX10.2 platform. So as you can see, there is a lot more space in the 10.3, the original, in the middle. So if you were looking to do a build with a scale interior or something of the sort, that's the platform you probably want to lean more towards. This guy here's got a lot of junk in the middle.
Not so much.
Not so good. They have removed the sealed receiver box setup. As you see on the 10.2, it had the receiver box here. That is now gone. It's just a flat piece on the side.
Most people take that out anyways.
Yeah.
Like, racing weight.
Yeah. If you take a look at how these guys have their battery set up now, the original 10.3 and the new 10.3 base camp still share where the batteries go. You can either mount it on the side here, or you can go on the very back. All depends on how much weight and what your balance is like and everything, what you're running for motor combos, all that kind of stuff, right? But if you look at Traxxas, they still have theirs centered right down the middle. Oh, I was going to show you this here. See how much this tail end comes out on the TRX4?
Yeah, it drops down.
It drops down and comes way back. So it's got a really bad approach angle there as well. Most people just pull that. And I can see that being the same deal with this.
It's pretty bulky in this picture, actually.
It's really big in this picture. I just don't like it. And I guess go back here to a couple of pictures of side shot. If you were to you want to put another body on this thing. So your body lines, most Lexan bodies are going to be pretty even behind the wheels as they are in front of the wheels when it comes to a truck box. Might be up a little bit, but to make a body work with this bumper, you're going to have to cut it way up to make that body line work. So I think that's going to be a no-go for a lot of people.
Or you're going to be chopping a lot of bumper off.
You're chopping a lot of bumper off. So center of gravity wise, I'm looking at these, and here's the new base camp. So your motor is centered. You don't have any room there for any kind of interior or anything. It all stands up quite a bit. There's your TRX4 Sport, where everything is pretty low. The motor's further ahead. It is lower down in the chassis. Maybe not a lot, but enough. Then you have your 10.2 transmission in the middle again. Motor it's still about the same height, but I think the transmission housing on this one actually seems to stand up more. It seems to me, when you look at body post mounts, the top of the shock towers, it seems to be a little further up that than this one.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got the original 10.3 with their other transmission, not the LC, whatever they call this one. I can't remember the name of it now.
The transmission has everything.
The transmission has everything. That everybody complained about the gear ratios, and nobody liked the fact that it was a 2-speed, and very few people ever ran the 2-speed because they just didn't. They liked the dig. Some people really liked the dig. Some people hated the dig. It depends. So now they've gone back to basics, and they've gone away from the dig.
What they do, put the old 10.3 transmission in there, or what? Or 10.1?
No, they did not. They went down to, let's show you guys this one here. So this is the new housings. Okay, just quickly, because you're asking about transmission. The new housing, this housing here, if you notice, it's got like, what would you call that, doweling almost?
Yeah.
To seat it and line it up properly into the chassis plate. And it is 4-bolt, but it's 4-bolt only on one side.
That's kind of different.
So you're putting all your stresses and all your load on one side of your transmission case.
One half the case.
One half the case. Now, the old style, in the 10.2, had your bolt holes here and here and here and here.
Oh, yeah.
So you were splitting that load between both halves of the housing.
And those kind of kept the transmission together, too. You know, from the bottom up, and then this.
Yeah, if you strip these holes on the side where like your side mounts, like right now, the way this one sits, if you strip out these holes or any of the threads in here, because they're plastic threads, if you strip out any of these threads, the whole thing's just going to wobble. There's nothing to help hold it lined up. An advantage to the new one is that it is a metal motor mount again. It's gone away from this plastic one that they made for the cheaper stuff.
Yeah, that's nicer. I like the metal aspect.
And then comparing that to the 10.3, the original 10.3 with the 2-speed tranny and the dig and all that stuff. I mean, this thing's a behemoth compared.
Yes.
So there's a big difference there. And you get into the guts of this thing. So they took the old 10. Nobody wanted this anymore. All of these parts. This is just the 10.3. The original 10.3 down here is a nightmare of parts. You pull it apart, all kinds of things moving.
So I guess no one liked like you said, no one liked the dig, no one liked the 2-speed. So like, screw it, you get this now.
So they threw it out of there. But then I still think they over-engineered this one or overthought this one, in my opinion. The original SCX10.2, which was also the same as the 10.1 gear.
Yeah.
Why was it a 3-gear? For your gear reduction, everything was fine. Everything worked fine. Wasn't as beefy in some spots as it should have been, but that slowly got them. But
that was like the go-to transmission for everybody. They put that in everything. They took that
this new one
and threw it in everything.
This new one is now a 10. It's got a 5-gear transmission.
Big 10.4, buddy.
And the 5-gear is in there so that the rotation is proper for your drive shafts because you are now running on portals. And the idea of this transmission is you can take the 1 gear out, relocate it into the transmission. I can't remember if it was flip it over or which way you do it. Pop the 1 out, flip it around and put it back in or whatever it is, move it into a different slot. There's different guide holes in here in the actual transmission housing.
Yeah.
So now you eliminate and it changes the rotation of the transmission so that when you go to a straight axle setup, instead of going portals, you just change that gear. Okay. I mean, yeah, so that's great. That sounds like a great idea if you weren't able to reverse your motors. But how many motors out there, like how many ESCs out there can you not just reverse the direction of the motor?
Well, I think back if you're running like a brushed motor, that the way the brush is attached to the aperture of the motor, right?
If you're running a cheap
brush, going one way, not the other way.
So buy one that's got the regular stock rebuildable brush motor.
Yeah, up and down one.
Go straight in, right?
Yeah.
Anyone that you can change the timing on the motor, that is a moot point now, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that's kind of a silly, over-engineered thing. And I also think that's one of those things that they could have gone another direction with it and saved themselves extra cost. Now, there is one thing that I've heard said, and that is that when you go to change your portals to the straight axle, then you lose another gear reduction. So then you also end up being higher geared because now you're straight axle. You've lost that reduction in the axles. So I am hearing rumor of there being a possible different set of gearing that you can put in this transmission to change that. But that's also another thing that you can gear that out with your pinion. You can gear that out with your spur gear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other ways you could gear that out as well. You could change the gearing in your diff housings, all kinds of stuff, right? Just saying, like, I don't personally understand why, if they're going to offer a straight axle version, why don't they just change the gearing in the pumpkin of the straight axle conversion to make it equivalent to what it would be with your overdrive? That would be my fix. I think that this whole thing here is over-engineered. The person who wants to put straight axles on is going to want to spend that extra money, and they will spend that, right, on different gearing and stuff in there. I don't think it needed to be engineered into this in an entry-level truck.
Yeah, what would you want to change out? Would you rather change out the whole transmission? Like, the transmission is usually in the middle of the truck. Everything is attached to it. The quick and easy thing is pinion and spur.
Yeah.
Done.
Another thing I noticed on this is old 10.2 and 10.1. They had these plates in here, and these bolted on both sides of this gear.
Yeah.
Okay. The new one, it's a one-piece spool with your out drives on both sides, and they still attach separately to the gear.
Yeah.
But it's a solid one-piece.
So that's a plus, isn't it?
Well, it's basically taking, instead of you getting that twisting force going like this, and the gear in the middle, you've taken it now, that twisting force is being shared through the drive line, and you're just rotating the whole thing, right? I think it's eliminating some shearing forces.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was simplified, but not simplified. Another thing that you'll notice when you look at this, Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to ask?
But is it much more simpler than the 10.3, the old G 10.3 original transmission? There's a lot going on in there.
Oh yeah, the 10.3, like I said, was a nightmare. I mean, it scared most people. But so you take a look. They also changed out. There's no longer a slipper pad set up in this. There are no slipper pads for this transmission. This is a hard piece. If you can see it right here, this is the piece. It is a metal piece. It goes in. It goes directly into the spur gear, which is held on with a washer and a nut. There's no springs. There's no slipper pads anywhere in there, which is fine to me, because almost every single truck, any crawler that I've ever seen, most guys are just immediately taking it and putting it straight to, direct drive and slipper eliminators and stuff, right? So they've eliminated the eliminator.
But my whole thought about slipper is that sometimes that thing needs to slip. Like you got the wheel caught up on something, it needs to slip.
I've never encountered that on a crawler.
That way you don't end up bending your axles, breaking stuff.
Nah, I've never encountered that in a crawler. I agree with that on something that's a higher speed unit where you might land and you're going to get that shock load, and sometimes you want a little bit of slippage.
Yeah.
But when you're crawling and you're relying on something like a slipper, I think it turns into guys who do too much trigger, and they need to learn to finesse the trigger when they bind up and they get into a bound up situation. Instead of just giving her more juice, maybe back out of it a bit and reassess.
Yeah.
So anyways, in the gearing, if you buy another set of spare gears, it does come in a package of 2. You can see 1, 2. And this is all you get for the slipper eliminator, or for the, what do they call it? Slipper eliminator setup, whatever. Then we get down into the motor. So now it's the old Dynamite 35 turn motor.
No surprise.
And I've had I've heard people refer to this as the old Hobby Wing knockoff. It's not a Hobby Wing knockoff. It's this knockoff.
The original.
This is the old AE5L. Now, this actually had wiring come out of it for lights on some versions of it. Depends what year you got. And it's got the mechanical jumper and everything. But that's not a Hobby Wing. That's more of a Dynamite look to me.
Yeah.
So they just rebranded that, really. As you can see, they're very similar.
Yeah, totally.
So then we get into the Falcon tires and wheels.
Oh, yeah. Look at those.
Well, Black Rhino wheels, Falcon tires. They're a beautiful tire. Wild Peak tire is a really neat looking tread style. I love the sidewall on it. It looks really good. It is, if you look right here, you can see they are rating it at a 4.7 inch. They actually have the tire size on the side. So 4.7 inch as opposed to some of the other companies with a 4.75. So you're going pretty big right out of the box, right off the bat. You're going with a pretty big set of rubber. Glued on. It's too bad because this rim, I can see people wanting to reuse this rim because it's pretty nice. It's pretty sharp looking, I think.
It's pretty cool. All detail in it.
Now, so here we got the people were complaining about the fact that the body is painted entirely, right? From it's a one shot, one blast wonder, one color, then backed it with white, and then they stuck stickers on the outside.
Yeah.
So did these guys. Everybody complained about this, but there didn't seem to be any problem with that because people just changed. Like, literally, look at these two bodies. Is it a knockoff of this one? Not really. Is this a knockoff of anything? Not really. I mean, some people say it looks like a Toyota. Some people think it looks like a Nissan. Some people that's what it was made to look like. And so
kind of like a lot of things. Kind of like a lot of things.
Mishmash, right? Just let's put a bunch of body similarities. You have to make a truck body, right? So there you go. You got those. And then we take a look at the original Honcho. So the Honcho was there was nothing really trademarked on this one.
No.
Or not trademark, but there was nothing really copyright or rights paid to. The body style was very generic. They did put a cage on it to give it a cage look. They were the first ones to really do that. They didn't paint the windows, but they still stuck a sticker over top of it so it could have tint. People complain about the fact that there's no inner wheel wells. Why do you need inner wheel wells? This one doesnn't have inner wheel wells. No. Why does that one need to have them?
It's like going back to the old, the original SCX10.
See, back to the original SCX10, which is why I've got the picture of this. I mean, this didn't have wheel wells inside it either.
No.
And one of the things that I think people are missing the point with this truck is that this is geared to be the entry level, the new Honcho of the Axial line. I don't think that you're going to see the Honcho in the 10.3 line. And that's just my gut. I just think that they've kind of just said bye to it. I think you're going to see, and the other thing, Horizon owns Proline and Axial. So when Axial comes out with a truck, or a body or something, and it comes up with something that the body's like, man, nobody likes this body. Wah. They don't care because they know that you're going to take that body and you're probably going to go buy a body from, oh, I don't know, maybe Proline,
From
who
them?
they also own. Right? It's the same thing with the gluing of the tires instead of bead locks. Do they care at all if you got to take these glued tires off, or if you don't want to deglue these tires or use acetone or any of that stuff? So now what are you going to do? You're going to go buy a new set of rims and new tires.
Yeah.
Who sells those?
Proline.
Proline. They also sell those, and they own that company too.
Got those nice Hydrixes I like to drive on.
Yeah.
So
when people complain about it being glued, I don't like glued tires. I don't like gluing them. I don't have a problem with a set of tires that are already, they're
gluing
great.
them's easy.
It's the easy button. Totally the easy button.
I got the gluing video.
Right. So, I think that they did a good job here. I do think that they were trying to recapture the entry-level market. Back in the day, there was this truck, and it was kind of the entry level. This and the Deadbolt were the entry level, and they were the budget model. And that was what was on the shelf. And then Traxxas came out with their TRX4 lineup. And at first, it wasn't a big deal because they came out with the TRX4, the Defender, the 2-speed transmission, locking diffs, blah, 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 blah. And the price point was like this. It was huge. It was a big gap. And then they came out with the Sport. And then Axial lost a market share because they no longer had that budget line. They didn't have that locked down anymore, right? Yeah, and they never really have had it locked down since the Sport came out. They've just kept on using the same line they always had, but it wasn't.
Different body on it.
It was a different body on it, but it wasn't as good. A lot of people didn't think it gave you as many options. Where I do think they kind of missed the boat on this one is we're going to get back to this part too. One thing I do think they missed the boat on with this is that they had so. Traxxas made their TRX4 Sport, and they made a one-gear selection in the transmission, but they used the same cases, the same housing. So if you wanted to, let's just say you bought it as an entry level and you decided you want to change it to a 2-speed, well, you can buy a kit to change that to the 2-speed. You can't buy a kit to change this to this.
No.
They're completely different transmissions. You don't just change a few gears and add a servo. You change out the entire transmission.
And probably the center plate too, right?
And yes, the center plate as well, because the mounting points are nowhere near the same. So that's kind of, I think they kind of missed the mark on that a little bit, because I think that they've removed that option to upgrade. Not that everybody upgrades, but I think they've removed that option to upgrade. Let's go back here. I want to show you guys something else that they changed up. I don't know if it's going to be super popular. They also changed out the shocks. Now they went to the aluminum cap. That's fine. Metal cap. Awesome, right? But in that same aspect, if you take a look at this one here, you have your plastic cap, and there's a bleeder here.
Yeah.
This one, no bleeder.
No bleeder.
No bleeder. No bleeding bleeder. So these are the two different sets of parts. These are the new base cap line and the base cap shocks housing. Biggest difference between this one and the 10.3 original is just these caps. This is the caps for the 10.3. They're all one piece and the bleeder screw in the top. These are now the caps for the base cap. No bleeder in, but it did change the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Bottom has at the bottom of it, you're going to capture it with your spring retainer. You put the bolt through the spring retainer. It's going to also go through your opening on the bottom of your ball end. So that's going to help stop that from possibly moving up and down at all.
I like that,
because how many people ever had that problem. I never really did, but
the problem I had with mine was it would move, or the spring would come out, and then you got like a spring off there, and that thing's all over the place.
But I don't know if this is going to change that problem, because I know what you're saying. You're saying the spring would come off of that retainer, right?
Spring, and then also the retainer would come off too, because you hit a rock. Just there's always that weird rock you hit, and it pushes it up, and it's gone.
Well, yeah, okay, I guess. I mean, that was kind of the point of this being
clamped.
You could clamp that in there, right? And then would clamp onto here.
Yeah.
All they've really done is they put a plastic molded piece in here now. Bolt goes through there, and now it's going to hold that in place. So it's not, even if it wasn't tight all the way, it's still not going to come off, right?
Yeah, because I'm not too sure how tight you can get it on there to hold it.
So they made that change. I personally liked the bleed, because I like to get the air out of my shocks when I'm doing it. You can do it with the other ones that you don't need to fight with it. Like, you just loosen off the cap, bleed the bubbles out, whatever. I like the bleed screw. I just found it way easier, quicker.
It is.
It is what it is. So then let's take a look at this. If you notice on here, so this is the 10.3. This is the original 10. Now this entire piece in here, this is your Panhard mount. Your Panhard mount was all plastic in here. It was all part of the front shock tower.
First thing upgraded.
Now, if you look here on this side, it is a separate piece that's added in here. And this is metal. Okay. But it's weird though, because when you look at the parts lists and you look on the, if you order just this piece, okay, the 231017, you're going to get this piece still, okay, out of plastic. You need to make sure that you order this piece. This one here that is actually this, okay? And this is the metal Panhard mount that's meant for the non-portal version. And the portal, let me read it. And talks about using the included spacer as sintered metal, so it's not machined, it's sintered, so it can still break, but not as easy as plastic. It's supposed to give you more durability, less flex than the plastic. But you got to pay attention when you look at this, because when you order these parts, if you don't look at this one part right here is the only thing. Everybody thinks that this all comes as one giant unit. It doesn't. You can get this unit still for the 10.3. You need to specifically order this piece here if you want to get this new metal. Now, the other reason I have this slide here is because it wants to show how many servos does one person need.
You put them all in here. I like this. This is like crazy.
You put them all up there.
Put all 4 in there.
Just run linkage to everything.
Run linkage. I think what I think would be cool to see with this, because you got the servo mounts, is to be able to put like a cam on your shock mount.
Yep.
And be able to like adjust it so it kind of shifts it over like the 6.4, right?
Yep.
So you're on a side hill, you want your car starting to lean over this way here. So no,
you're saying put your steering servo up here or in the middle, and then have one for your shock and one for your shock on this side, and do the old
left and right. Lift it up or lower it down. Yeah.
I thought about this a bit after the fact. If I have a picture in here, so this is the transmission. I don't know if maybe the reason they've offered all of these different, where is it here? All of these different positions in here for servos. Is there a future possible 2-speed linkage system that they're going to have set up where you put in a 2-speed or a variable? Maybe they're looking at a variable overdrive setup. Maybe they're looking at something like the Element Enduro has, where it's got the built-in overdrive in the transmission, and maybe you can shift it or change it. I don't know. You never know what the engineers have hidden up their sleeve. I just think it's really suspicious to have 4 servo locations at the front when you're only using one for steering and maybe one for a winch. I guess if you were a comp guy, maybe you might want to have a rear winch, and you might want to run the line out through maybe an antenna wire or something and scoot it out to the rear. You could do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm moving things around. I understand that, but it seems like a lot of engineering in here and designing it in when it could have just been made as a metal plate. There's got to be a hidden reason.
I think they were kind of probably trying to do an SCX10.4 and couldn't get all the parts sourced out and everything done. So like, okay, well, let's just put a couple things from the next model, transmission.
Maybe there'll be another transmission option out there that they'll sell. Yeah. That drops in and it uses one of these servo locations. So you use a dig, variable, like I said, variable overdrive on the front end, whatever. Who knows? Yeah. There's all kinds of different possibilities out there.
Or you can even have a 2-speed with that as well. 2-speed, dig, variable overdrive, and your steering.
Let me just take a look here at the housings. See, when you look at this housing, I don't see any removable plugs or anything in here anywhere.
No.
So I don't think that this transmission housing is going to be utilized to do any kind of shifting in the transmission. So I don't know. So yeah, that's the new goodness, the new sexiness, the new bestest. I think it's a nice truck. I do think that the real thing here is that I think they are trying to regain their market share that they had before. As the entry-level budget unit. I do like the blue. My blue is my favorite one so far. Actually, I don't mind the tan either. I don't like the green. That's just me. I don't like the headlight stickers. I think the headlight stickers are kind of ugly. I don't see the point in a licensed front bumper. I do see the point in the licensed tires because the tires are actually a fairly good compound and that tread pattern does work. I don't see the point in the licensed wheels, when you have your own plastic wheels. So I do think that they could have probably saved that extra, I mean, between the $20 difference between the Sport and base camp. I think they could have closed that gap by not over engineering the transmission and not putting the license stuff on here. I think they actually could have come in closer to the 300 mark myself, but it is what it is. It's another model, and I'm glad they came out with a cheaper model, because the SCX10.3 line, honestly, was starting to get out of that realm of entry level.
Yeah, it was getting up there in price. Another Jeep body, licensed Jeep body with everything on it. It was what, like $700?
Yeah. I mean, I have a Jeep. I have a Jeep, and I like Jeeps, but I'm pretty tired of Jeeps.
And that's what I like about this. It's a little bit more refreshing from them.
This is opening it up for you to put on. It's a 12.3 wheelbase, so you're opening it up now to put on another body from a different line, a different vehicle. It's got the traditional body posts. I'm sure they'll make a kit. I bet you they make a universal kit for the body mount system for the hidden body posts. I can see that coming out someday. Between them owning Proline and them owning Axial and all this, I can see them making like a universal body mount kit that would mount up into the front and the back box or whatever, so that you would utilize the bottom mounted clips and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think. I could be wrong. It's happened before, but that's my feeling on it.
Cool.
I like it. I think it's going to have potential, and I think you're going to see a lot of them on the trail this year. And everybody who hates Traxxas is going to be jumping all over this. That's the other thing.
Yep. You got the haters out there.
Yeah. I so similar. So similar. Anyways, that's it for that. That is it for the new base camp.